Welcome to the Heal, Thrive, Dream podcast, where trauma survivors become healthy thrivers. Each month, we'll feature a theme in the trauma recovery and empowerment field. To promote your recovery, healing, and learning how to build dreams, here's your host, Karen Robinson, transformational coach and therapist.
Welcome to the Heal, Thrive, Dream podcast. Today, our guest is Jessica Hammock. Jessica is the founder of Vibrant Voice, a safe space for others to find their voice in all stages of healing. Jessica serves as an identity breakthrough coach, licensed trauma specialist, podcast host, speaker, and author. So now you know why I love her already. We have almost the same qualifications. She holds an MS in counseling and has over 15 years experience in education, where she has done everything from classroom teacher to assistant principal. She is currently the director of behavioral and mental health, serving 100 campuses and 25,000 students. That's a lot of students, by the way.
It is.
Thank you, Jessica, for being here today.
I'm so excited. Thank you for having me.
And not only are you being a podcast guest, but you're also a speaker at a summit we have coming up on May 15th and 16th, Finding Faith After Trauma. How excited are you to be part of the summit?
Oh, so excited. You know, you and I had visited, connected, and then you were tossing this idea about and talking about it. And I'm like, oh, this is one, it is so needed. I think people don't realize how critical it is that the faith component in their healing process is really important. And because of so much wounding and things that have occurred in their life, whether an absorbed wound or like a really active present wound, it's definitely something that's needed in our world today because that component can facilitate the healing process so differently. So I'm super excited to be a part of it.
Yay! And I remember too, when we connected, I thought you were just like this poster child for the summit because of the faith component, but also the science. Like you have a lot of tools that you use in your healing that are evidence-based in science. So the two marry so beautifully together.
Yeah, it's part of the journey that I've had in kind of healing my own stuff. But I also when I was in the classroom, I was a math and science teacher. So there was so much that just science-wise connected me, and it sparks that little nerdy part of my brain. And we go on these little rabbit trails, and I'm like, oh, it just kind of all melds together. So yeah, it's definitely super cool.
Yeah, I also I should say that we're both Polka Dot members, and we're going to Celebration.
Whoop, whoop.
And tell people, it's really kind of cool. Tell people like what you decided early when you were planning Celebration.
Yeah. So Celebration is a big event, a collective where all the polka dots have an opportunity to attend together. There's speakers and connection activities. And it's a love bubble kind of on steroids. It fills you up so good. But my first experience when I went is through no fault of anybody else. I only knew about 10 people in a room of about 450. And I tell people I arrived at the room and it was kind of like everybody was in this class reunion where they had gone to high school all 4 years together. And I went the last week of high school, but now I was coming back for the reunion. So they had all these memories and these collectives together. And everybody was like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad to see you. And I'm like, who are you? And what do you do? So when I love the experience, but it was just my own participation. It just felt to a degree disconnected, like I was still missing things. And so when they opened it up for this coming year, I joined the group right away. And then I realized I need to connect with some of these women before we get there. And so I did this crazy thing. I set this big, hairy, audacious goal that they talk about, you know, of trying to connect with all 450 women before we get there next year. So let's just say one of the things I've learned is I've had to adjust the expectations I held because now I'm intermingling with 450 women who have all varying degrees of life happening to them and with them and for them. And so some just don't respond. Some aren't interested just because of where they're at in their life. Some are like, hey, this is a great idea, but I'm so busy, I can't do one more thing. And that's cool. That's just where we're at and learning to navigate that fine. But I'm 105 women in connecting with them. So if
Wow.
nothing else, I will know 105 people when I get there to Celebration. And
Yeah.
the one thing I love about my job and what I do and all the things is listening to stories. It's really important, I think, for your story to be told no matter where you're at or what you're going through. And so sitting with those 105 women, I feel like my life has been enriched just from hearing their stories. But the second layer of that is being able to connect them in their story and what they do and who they are to other people for the betterment of all of it. It's been so fabulous.
Beautiful. I actually didn't know your goal was to meet I forgot. I guess I did know that. I forgot. I had in my head you're going to meet 100 people. And even that is insane to me.
Yeah. I am okay if I don't make it to all 450, but originally I was like, I calculated in my head, if I meet with this many people a month and I have this many months, because I started a whole year ahead of time, I'm like, 450 doesn't seem like that much, but you're trying to coordinate everybody's schedules, and most of us live in different time zones, which is also a factor.
Challenge.
Trying to figure out, first of all, which time zone are you in? Which time zone am I in? Plays a big role.
Right.
But yeah, so I'm like, okay, we're just going to go with as many as we can get.
So I was like, well, Jessica's going to remember me because we both are specialized in trauma.
Yes.
But let me make sure she remembers me. Let me get her on my podcast. Let me invite her to my summit. See, this is all very strategic. So when we get to Celebration, you're like, oh, I know Karen.
Yes. Well, and I started for my own, like, I function well with systems of organization. I figured that out. So I started keeping a spreadsheet early on, because then I would meet with so many people and hear their story and I'd be like, oh, I need to remember that. And I'm glad I did, because now I'll be connecting with another dot and I'll say, oh yeah, no, and they'll mention a need that they have or something. I'll be like, oh, you should meet so-and-so. What chapter are they in again? And so I kind of keep track of where everybody is at and what chapter they're in. In fact, I just talked about you to somebody else the other day, and I'm like, yeah, do you know Karen? Like, she's amazing and all the things, and she's in this chapter and all the stuff. So it was it's good to learn and grow, and also be able to connect other people. That is the heart of what Polka Dots is. So if you're a female and you're looking for more connection in your life, they are the best.
Yeah, we'll have a link in the show notes for sure about the organization. Because, there's a lot of networking groups out there. But what's really special about this one is that we are all heart-centered. We put relationships before business.
Yep.
It's about connection and serving, helping each other grow.
Yeah.
So that's just beautiful.
Yeah, I love it.
All right. So let's talk a little bit, if you're comfortable. And if I ask you something that you're not comfortable, I know we talked about it before, but just say pass, or, yeah, Karen, ask me another question. Because the podcast and the summit is geared towards empowering survivors in some kind of way, whether it's telling their stories or empowering them to heal. And in this particular summit is to empowering them to explore their faith a little more. But in order for you to maybe connect with our audience, is there a particular trauma that you feel a little comfortable just sharing a little tiny bit about your life? And if you don't want to, you can pass.
Yeah, I mean, I would say which trauma, because I feel like there's so many. I know that I went.
It's not funny, but we have to laugh.
It's not funny. Yeah. Because trauma is so connected to relationships. So I would say early on, probably more the trauma that had to do with faith and really religion and my family generations. And then my husband, we got married, and he actually had a traumatic brain injury. So a trauma in our relationship and how we navigated moving forward. And then I had a 10-year journey with infertility, which was another sort of trauma identity crisis also. So those are, like, I would say, the three biggest ones that stand out in my story, but I'm happy to talk about whichever one you feel like would be the best benefit. I mean, I will say this, faith, the faith component has always been a thread in my life. And I think that having the piece of it impacted the relationship piece of that impacted everything that I did or didn't do. And sometimes the trauma comes about because the relationship just wasn't a good one. It just wasn't, good because
Okay.
other people were there. And then with every relationship, I feel like there's expectations that are uncommunicated. And those uncommunicated expectations, whether I held them for myself or I held them for somebody else, for somebody I felt like they held them for me, deepened probably the impact of that in me.
Yeah, I think what might be the most helpful, where there's so many different layers, is symptoms, right? Because that's
Sure.
what people can relate to. And so a lot of the people I work with or talk with, symptoms are all over the place for survivors. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
know that we have this diagnostic manual, but my experience, the symptoms expand that, like blow that out of the water. Because it doesn't really talk about the physical symptoms that happened, in the body, we respond. It doesn't talk about the relationship component too, like how trauma shows up in relationships. So when you think about what was most interfering or the symptoms that really bothered you, I guess, for lack of a better word, what would those be?
I didn't learn this term till much later, but looking back, this was definitely a symptom all throughout it, and that was self-betrayal. I think in every single scenario, in all the relationships I had, and the details of every event, or in the chronic ones where it was a series of events and situations over and over and over, I didn't recognize that internal. I didn't necessarily feel so much anxiety per se, or as anxiety is defined, but this constant self betrayal of making decisions for other people, because internally I was like, it was the hypervigilance in relationships. So I have to make this decision, or I have to say this, or I have to be this way, or they won't like me, or they'll respond their responses back to me. I was so fearful of other people's responses. I think that started when I was really young. I was a highly emotional child, not in a good or bad way. I just had a lot of emotions, and big emotions. My family of origin didn't necessarily have those the same way that they expressed them. So it was always uncomfortableness in household because they didn't understand why I could feel things so big. And to them, I felt everything big. And in their minds, that wasn't a big thing. So it was this regulation of, can I feel this thing? Can I not feel this thing? And so it became this, self betrayal every time I had to regulate, or hypervigilance around regulation for myself in a relationship context. And so then I began to apply that to acquaintances. I won't say strangers so much, but any interaction I would have with somebody, it became like I began to read body language and facial expressions, and look for, am I in the right direction? Am I safe enough to have a feeling right now, to express the feeling? And I think there was a lot of, we did talk about it so much later in trauma, the stress response of like fawning or flopping, as you could say. I know that I did a lot of that. It was easier just to say yes to things that I was even uncomfortable. It wasn't anything inappropriate, but just uncomfortable things. Sometimes been in a lot of friendships, it morphed into, where do you want to go to dinner? I don't know, wherever you want to go, it's fine. And there was
Right.
an element where it was okay, but at the same time, I never articulated anything until much later in life, when I found those safe and supportive relationships. And they're like, no, like, what do you desire to do? But it was such an unfamiliar practice. Like, even just going to
Okay.
dinner was an unfamiliar practice that I didn't even have the tools to think about, like a decision making process, because I had been so used to, it doesn't matter wherever you want to go. It doesn't matter. It's whatever you want to do. And so I
Like
had
people
to,
pleasing.
yeah, just dismissed who I was, and betrayed this idea that it was okay for me to have thoughts and preferences and desires and all of that piece of things. So my hypervigilance wasn't necessarily like scanning the physical environment. And we talk a lot in trauma about the auditory cues and things like that activate that. It wasn't that for me. It was more in the relationship with people.
Yeah. You were hyper alert to how they were feeling.
Yeah.
And not so much alert about how you were feeling.
Right.
Yeah.
Because in my mind, I didn't have the permission to have, there was not safety early on to feel things. Even if I couldn't make sense of them, there wasn't safety to feel them. And so, my expression tends to be I cry, and I cry when I'm sad or when I'm mad or when I'm happy. It's liquid stress releasing. When I say liquid stress just comes pouring out in abundance. That liquid stress is uncomfortable for a lot of people. And even now, as an adult who does the work, who knows the thing, I don't apologize for the fact that I'm crying, but I can still tell that there is a level of uncomfortability, especially for those who restrict their emotions in the other way.
So I like that you mentioned the symptom of hyperarousal, which means on high alert, for anyone not knowing. You also mentioned the word regulation, the emotion regulation. Do you want to tell the audience what that might mean in case someone listening doesn't understand it?
Yeah, I think when you think of being a thermometer in something, like say you're going to stick a thermometer, you have a thermometer in a room, it is reflective of what the temperature is. Where a thermostat is something where you can set the temperature to operate at. And so to me, regulation is the thermostat that I desire to be set at. So something like, say I have air conditioning and heating. I'm in Texas, so we we have a standard operating temperature here. But if things heat up, it gets 100 degrees all of a sudden, well, probably more like 90. The thermostat is going to bring me back into a normal range of feeling okay in my house. Where if the temperature drops to 42, the thermostat brings the house back into a regulation that feels safe. And I like to think about, how do we do that in our body? We're going to feel those emotions and sensations if we're aware of them. So part of that regulation is being aware of what the sensations and the emotions look like and feel like internally for us, because they are different for everybody. But then having the connectivity and brain to say, what practice or situation what practice or process do I want to navigate through to bring that back into the temperature, quote unquote, that I desire to be. So do I need to do some somatic work of breathing through? Do I need to actually go have some physical distance and space? Do I need to talk about this? Maybe not with that person, but do I need to talk about it and get the verbal energy out? Do I need to write about it? So having practices in place to bring your physical body and your emotional body back into that thermostat regulated part.
Beautiful. See, I remember that too from our first time we connected. You're such a teacher. A therapist that can teach is really powerful. Like, I remember we were talking about energy and how you were explaining that. That was really cool. And for sake of today's time, we won't talk too much about energy stuff. Although that's one of your gifts as well, I think, is energy healing.
Yeah. If people don't realize how that it's all tied together. It's all connected.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you that. So we're on the same wavelength here. How can you maybe explain how healing modalities are tied together, and maybe tie faith into that too? Like, how does it?
Yeah. So my approach or philosophy is that we are spirit. We have a heart part of us that's connected to our soul, which is our mind, will, and emotions. That's also connected to our body. And a lot of people in the current world, we're transitioning this, they will respond a lot faster to body aches and pains and treat body symptoms or aches and pains. And that's not bad or wrong. It's just, that's what I call a body entry point. But what I see is those things, because they're all connected, it's important to resolve all the parts of it in the healing process, or have tools to work through all the parts that are dysregulated, aroused, wounded, all the things, whatever terminology that works for you. But what I find often is that we address body wounds, or we go to mind practitioners to do mind work, but we don't go back and work on the heart. And the heart is where a lot of the woundedness entered in from whatever we navigated. And I know that where I've seen the work of people healing, allowing their heart to be healed, that spirit part of them, I think that is where I see the biggest aspect of connecting to faith, and knowing that, and anchoring in that what I navigated and what I went through, while it may have been horrible and terrible and had a big impact on my life, that there is this connection to a God component that also is so healing in that process. And then, I have to look at, if that is not an element that I can participate in, then is there wounding there, right? Is there a trauma that is connected to that God component, that piece of faith participating in allowing me to find rest and peace? So I tell people we're wired in our wiring, in our parasympathetic function, for joy, peace, and satiety. And sometimes, so if that's out of balance, if we can't find joy, if it's difficult to feel peace, that satisfaction or contentment in life, then is there wounding in our heart prevents that from happening? And so I look at the connection of all three of those things. There's brain waves that connect us, the science of the body and how it functions, where we feel pain in our body is connected to specific emotions and connected to specific people. So it's all telling a story. I say the heart gets wounded. It's very feely. And then the soul is kind of like a big sibling that gets involved in or an auntie or an uncle or whatever you want to term it. But they're like an older, more wiser figure. And they're like, okay, this is the steps you need to take. And they give you all these thoughts and beliefs and logic and like, just do this and this and this, and then you'll feel better. And these two essentially start arguing back and forth and back and forth. And the body finally gets involved, like the ultimate big sibling, parental figure, whatever. And is like, look, you need to stop it. I'm going to shut this party down if you don't stop it. And it starts throwing in all these symptoms. And we're like, oh, I guess we should pay attention to this. But we pay attention a lot of times to the outside first, and we don't go back and complete the cycle. And I have seen evidence enough time of people when they're willing to allow faith to be part of that component of healing, that healing happens a lot faster in a different way. There's just a supernatural participation when you partner with faith, that that there's something there perfect, that it has the ability to comfort you and provide support to you, to all parts of you, the seen and unseen parts. And it's a different experience.
Oh, that made me get a little teary. Yeah, I think I should have changed the summit name that somebody, our speaker earlier this morning, because the summit's title is Finding Faith After Trauma. I think a better term would have been Finding Faith Through Trauma. Because a lot of us, it's our faith that keeps us going when we're, a child trying to, survive whatever is going on, or a teenager, or just really dark moments. It's our faith that keeps us going. So I appreciate your counsel on all that. Now, I have something to pose to you, and I know you didn't get a heads up on it. So if it feels like you're floundering too much, we can change. So one of my concerns about doing this kind of summit is it seems to, well, it doesn't seem, I am drawing two different types of people.
Okay.
One type of person is our Bible thumpers, ultra religious. God is everything to them. They live and breathe the Bible. They preach the Bible. And anything that's not biblical or based in Christianity, for one sect of people, is of the devil or witchcraft, right? So specifically things like crystals, Reiki, that's all the devil's work or the witch's work. And then the other crowd is my spiritual healers that are a little more woo-woo, but as you and I both know, a lot of it's based in science now. But they're the healers that have just non-traditional ways of healing. They believe in a higher power. They may call it God. They may call it the universe. And between these two groups, like though there's people like you and I that can flow easily in between both of them because we get both of them. So I think that's safe for me to say. But sometimes my Bible thumpers are judgmental of the spiritual healers, like I said, devil's worship. And then also my spiritual healers can be a little judgmental of people that are religious, like they're hypocrites, they're judgmental, they're not enlightened, all these things. So my worry is that somebody's going to be offended at some point during the summit. Like somebody's not going to have grace or be kind to someone. What are your thoughts about that? Do you have any sage advice or yeah, Karen, get me out of here.
No, I will say this. We are working with people. And what I say to the teachers in school when a student says something that is inappropriate or acts in a way, that behavior is just communication. And so they're communicating from a place where a need in them was not met, which is so potent to think about. I find that, and I have both in interactions with both, have had conversations with both sides of this discussion. And I will tell you, I think that the people that get so stuck, I say, in really only using the language of religion, no matter what the religion is, honestly, is that they have found safety and comfort in a piece of knowledge that they can figure out. And it's difficult to, and they found safety and comfort because they have anchored into this faith aspect, right? But they found safety and comfort in knowledge and information that typically a preacher provides. Where it seems to get really off balance is they don't actually seek to know the creator and seek to know what he actually said and what the words actually say in the book that they're using. They're accepting somebody else's interpretation of it. Just like they're accepting somebody else's interpretation of what all these other things are, the devil worship, witchcraft, all the other stuff. They actually haven't really looked at the history of it and the truth of it and the discrepancies of it. But the same on the other side. They are using their experience of safety and comfort and what they have found to work and be free, but they haven't looked at all of the pieces of it because of their own wounding. So each is looking for safety. That behavior is communicating there is a need for love and belonging and safety, and both have found it in their individual unique communities. Unfortunately, here's the thing: is they're both going in the same direction and they desire the same thing.
I know, and they don't know they are in the same direction.
They don't know that they are running parallel tracks on the same, carrying the same exact train. And so what I would say to you is reminding them that we're all here for healing. We are all here for healing. We're all here moving in the same direction to experience healing. One version is one track and one side is another track, but we are all moving in this direction. And we, what is the saying? You didn't get any flies with vinegar, you only get flies with honey, or something like that saying. I don't know, probably butchered that, but the point is that, we will never invite anyone into a conversation if we're not willing to understand their side and their perspective and their story, which I think is so much a part of what trauma work is and navigating that healing process. So if you want somebody to understand you and your perspective and where you're coming from, it's being willing to, there's the idea of the 7 habits of highly effective people. And one of my favorite ones is seek first to understand and then be understood. And so maybe if we are willing to stop and say, you know what, let's just take a minute to understand how they got to where they did, how they arrived to that information and why that is so important for them. And what is hard for them about what you're doing, or the hardness of the other side. Why is that difficult for you? It comes from so much programming and other stuff, but ultimately we're all behaviors communication, and it's usually communicating that there's an unmet need, and the unmet need is the need is being challenged for them to find love and belonging and safety.
Love, belonging, and safety. Beautiful. And I think too, with that parallel that you were talking about, we're all looking for healing. And the other word that came to my mind is hope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
how much faith does someone need to have in in order to have enough to heal?
Oh, that's a loaded question. I don't know that there is. I don't know that there's ever enough faith to heal, because and here's why I say that is because our faith is, I shouldn't say it that way. What I would say is any participation in it is a participation. And I think that we all have degrees of participation that can lend itself to degrees of healing. We are pulling on something bigger and greater than us. However, I think where the, I say it's not I won't say it's not enough, but there is not a perfect answer for it, is that when doubt is also partnered with faith.
Yes.
It's where it gets in the way. And I think that it's kind of like if you've ever seen those trust fall things they do, as team building, which is terrible team building if you ask me, but if you're falling backwards and you have faith that they're going to catch you, but there's a doubt in your mind, your body will actually seize up tighter instead of being relaxed in the faith of that you have that they're going to catch you. And I think that's the component that puts faith off balance a little bit in the healing process. Because I doubt it's for me. I doubt that it's going to come through. I doubt that my participation in this God person or the supernatural powers are actually for me. When that doubt enters in, we actually lose the ability to see the evidence of it.
Yeah, maybe not feeling worthy enough of it.
Right.
Yeah. That was a really great perspective. I'm glad I asked you that. Because doubt is huge, and it's hard to trust a higher power if the people in your life especially parents, like if your parents are unable for whatever reason to take proper care of you and nurture you, when you start in the world that way, if you can't trust those people, how are you supposed to trust any other kind of authority, right? And the higher powers and authority. So that was helpful. So one of the things I tell my clients, though, when they have zero faith, is how about just trying that little mustard seed? That's kind of scripture. Like, what would happen if you tip your toe in?
Yeah.
I always tell them, like, I'm not here to try to convert you to be a certain religion or have beliefs that you don't want to have, but what if you on your own just explored?
Right.
How about reading the Tao of Piglet, the Tao of Pooh, the Day of Piglet? Or why don't you just take a peek at the Quran? Or what about the Buddhist books? Like, because what I found in all of spirituality, there is a very common thread too, which proves your point of the parallel, in my opinion, is they all are based on the golden rule.
Yeah.
It's like, it's a theme. Like
and science proves that. Yeah, whatever you're looking for, whatever you're showing up as, you're going to receive that portion back. So, it's faith really is a version of that evidence unseen. I'm going to make a choice internally to participate in something I don't have any evidence for, which our brain is like, what are you doing? This is very uncomfortable.
Yes.
But I think when we begin to get curious about it, as opposed to critical about what won't happen or doubtful of it, when we can get curious and say, show me evidence, provide for me evidence, even if it's just that little evidence, it's always there. And when we get curious about it, we're like, where is the evidence? Show me the evidence. Show up for me today. Then our brain looks for the evidence.
That's awesome. So if you're speaking to a specific survivor right now who really has a lot of doubt, is not sure about faith or spirituality, what is something you would recommend them tipping their toe at? Like, would you say, oh, maybe try a little prayer or a centering prayer? Or would you say, maybe just try some sort of meditation that taps in? Like, where would you start with someone?
Yeah, I definitely think that getting quiet, which I know can be difficult from a trauma perspective for some. So I typically say, as much as you can, get out everything that's in the forefront of your brain first, like some type of journal or I call it a brain dump. get all those thoughts out that are in the forefront. Dump them out on paper, the good, bad, and the ugly. Write it all out. Tear it up and throw away. And then sit and ask the question. Where are you? What do you want me to know? Show yourself to me, some type of question process. And then listen. And if listening for you means not doing anything, but just being still to listen, that can be difficult for some because it's uncomfortable in the body. So sometimes it's just writing out answers to the question that come through. So I think being aware of what else is there to talk to me from a spiritual practice. God, show yourself to me in this moment, or ask God a question. I would say all questions should be about present and future, though, because what I tend to see from a trauma perspective is we want to bring resolution to why we experience the pain, or and where God was and all that stuff. But the goal is for us to actually work in that relationship component that's part of faith. And so developing a relationship, like if you think of yourself having a friend and you were supposed to go to lunch together and they didn't answer their phone, they didn't respond to text messages, they didn't show up, it does nothing for the relationship the next time that you see them to be like, well, where were you? Why didn't you show up? I don't like you. You know, you go off on them. That doesn't help the relationship. So
That's a great example.
asking a question to further a relationship or a connection. If you're going to get to know someone brand new to you for the first time, what would you ask him? What's your name? What do you want me to know about you? How do you show up? What's your favorite color? Like, ask them something to connect the relationship piece of it instead of the past. That would be my starting point.
That is so beautiful, Jessica. All right. I feel like I had another question that seemed brilliant at the time, and it floated away. So maybe it wasn't so brilliant, or maybe I'll have to ask you in an email. I can't think of it. But one of the things I did want to ask you too is, like, it says you're an author. What have you written?
I participated in a book collaboration called Brave Women Connect. And it is all about connection through your story and through showing up, and how connecting with other people helped you to be more brave. So that's, I will say, the first thing I've written in collaboration. I know there's multiple other downloads, but I have learned also that speaking tends to be more of my gifting. Words flow a lot easier for speaking for me. When I write, it's a whole different tone and voice that comes through. And I was like, that wasn't where I meant to go at all with that. And then I end up down a different rabbit trail. So I'm always open for more book collaborations and connections. I have a low-key book running in the background. I take little notes on here or there, but it's not ready for publication yet.
Yeah, I hear you on the voice thing. So maybe some of your podcast episodes, or any of your talks, if they're recorded, then they just get transcribed, because I think you do have a gift. Okay, so tell us a little bit more about your coaching. Like, do you do group coaching, individual? Do you do workshops? Do you have courses? Just tell us a little more about that.
So right now, because I spend a lot of time just doing therapy work, I'm just new into launching into coaching because I had a lot of requests outside of my geographical region that I'm licensed in. So I do have a group opportunities available. I have an in-depth 6-month program available that's more individually based, that focuses on what we call the Vibrant method. Vibrant Voices has been my name from the beginning. But the group program takes a look at using frequencies, sound frequencies, and belief systems in our brain and somatic practices in our body, anchor in where trauma wounds might have occurred, whether they're small trauma wounds or big trauma wounds. And we focus on money trauma. We focus on identity trauma, like in relationship and love. And then we focus a lot on nervous system regulation, kind of getting back into that. So those are my group programs. I run those every month for 21 days. And we kind of do not kind of, we do frequency work where I actually broadcast frequencies individually to you. And then we talk about the somatic practices of how it's feeling in your body and being able to notice and uncover where the resistance is and then heal it. And we anchor in new affirmations into your body in a peaceful state. And then I do consultations for a lot of behavior communications that are navigating those relationship pieces, whether it's like friend to friend consultations between like I'm having a disruption in a friend relationship versus in a parent-child relationship. So I've had consultations and one-off sessions for that. But the in-depth coaching I do is really on identity and the idea of who you are and how much of a result of where you're standing right now in life is because of trauma. And what do you want to keep? What do you want to heal? What do you want to let go of? And how do we nourish the version of you that wants to go forward into the future?
Beautiful. I remembered my question.
Okay, let's do it.
It was important. That's why God gave it back to me. Okay. So I did not come up with this. I first learned this idea from another podcast guest, probably a year and a half, 2 years ago. And then I've seen it in things I've read, right? So I'm really excited about this and want to know your thoughts. The statement was, trauma survivors are more enlightened. Now, when I heard this, I didn't know if it had any truth in it or not, but it really resonated and I got really excited. I'm like, there's my purpose, right? Like it just really felt good.
Yeah.
There's so much about trauma that is so negative and heavy. I'm also a survivor. So to think that I'm more enlightened, it kind of explained my faith and how close I am to God and my intuition always guiding me, right?
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts? Do you think that's baloney or do you think something to that?
I would add to it, I think that trauma survivors that participate in healing are more enlightened. Because I know quite a few people who are trauma survivors that have done nothing, have buckled down, have ignored their trauma, have pretended it's not there, that operate from a very closed mindset.
Okay. I think I want to add that it's not too late for them.
It's definitely
I still have
not.
hope.
Yeah, their hope is always present. Hope is definitely something that I've been called to speak a lot more on and how it shows up for us. But I will, in my experience in working with trauma survivors, those that want to ignore or pretend it didn't happen because it feels safer, right? I wouldn't say that they operate from an enlightened perspective.
Yeah.
And in
I think
fact,
that's fair.
it's almost they become more critical of those who have gone through trauma and are working on healing and navigating that roller coaster of regulation sometimes that comes along with the healing process and all of those things. Because in their mind, well, you just get back up and you just keep going and you just pretend it didn't happen kind of thing. When the truth is, that's where we end up in a war internally. It's a perceived peace on the outside sometimes, even if it's not. It's that perception. Yeah. But the enlightenment to me comes when the survivors are willing to participate in a version, like you said, just that little bit of participation in some type of healing process and allowing themselves to move forward in that. Absolutely, I would 100% agree with the statement then.
Yeah. So if you're a survivor, you just happen to listen to this and your head has been in the sand, and that's not a judgment. Like it is really, really hard work to do this, but the pros are maybe becoming more enlightened. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
All right, Jessica, do you have any final words of wisdom for our listeners?
I
Such
would
a rich
just say,
discussion.
yeah, I know, it was so good. I got all the tingles. I would just say that there is no circumstance, situation, event, relationship, wound that is too great or too far gone to be healed. And so no matter what stage you are here, whether you've begun nothing or you've been in it for a long time, keep going. You're worth doing the work and showing up for yourself. You are worth it. And nothing that's happened to you or for you or because of you, whatever you want to term it, nothing there is standing in the way of you moving forward with healing, because you are worth it. There's nothing that can take that away from you.
Amen. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Jessica, it was such a pleasure. I really feel like you truly blessed me and our communities today. So thank you so much.
Yes, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you.
So listeners, registration will be in the show notes for Finding Faith After Trauma. Please come and hear Jessica speak, as well as many other awesome speakers. Thank you.
Such a great lineup.
Yeah.
That was good.
Yeah, it was so fun. Do you feel like this is a dumb question?
No, it's not. Just ask it if it's there.
Well, I was thinking part of my hesitation is like I want your good stuff to come out during the summit, but I think
girl,
I
got plenty of good stuff. We didn't even talk about all of it. So even if we had talked about all of it, here's what I believe is God is faithful to bring through what needs to be brought through. When you start showing up and speaking about this stuff, whatever it is, there's more to come. There is never, it's never once and done. It's not,
Thank you. All right. Well, I will get this to my team and say, please prioritize this. They are a little bit behind. Yeah, so I can't tell you exactly what day it'll come out, but the goal is for the summit. I have to help them with their priorities, so that's what I'll work on next.
Yeah.
Okay, any questions for me?
I don't think so. I'll be looking I saw the email come through about the speaker stuff, so my goal is to take a look at that in the next day or so. It's just been busy on my end, but other than that, no, just send me over the stuff or tag me in the post or whatever. I'll share it all over the place, and I'm excited.
Thank you. So. Yeah. And don't forget to turn in your opt-ins if you haven't done so already.
Yes. I noticed, I don't think I have, but I noticed and maybe it was updated maybe I just looked at it wrong. Something about the opt-ins. I did say I had opt-ins for both, but when I initially looked at the page, it didn't have I don't know, it didn't have a bunch of opt-ins. And so maybe it was just that you were getting the bill. So
none of the opt-ins are on the actual page. We show them on the summit page after people register.
Oh, okay. Maybe that's what it is. Okay.
That doesn't come out yet.
Okay. Yes.
On your speaker interest sheet, you said no on the opt-in, but then you wrote what your opt-in is.
I know. I was like, wait, I thought I had one. Yes, I have something I can set for both. Yeah.
Yeah, I can tell you. Do you remember what time you're speaking off the top of your head?
You just sent it Friday at 12:20 Eastern.
Okay, it helps me find you a little faster. Just speak craziness. Okay. So no, I have both of your things already.
Okay.
Your links. Yeah, your opt-in is the fast emotional reset, and your VIP bonus is inner voice emotional reset. You sent the links already for those.
Okay.
I don't think I tested them yet, but you sent them.
Okay. Yeah. The fast one should be just a downloadable PDF. The inner voice is like a registration link that they use for the session. And then once I get that come through, then I reach out and set up, because it's some individual pieces to it. But yeah.
Awesome. I'm really excited. I think 10 of the speakers have contributed to the VIP bonus, which hopefully will mean I will sell some more.
Yeah.
So that will be exciting.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Yay. I'm so excited. Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
All right, enjoy the rest of your weekend.
You too. Bye.
Okay.
Thank you for listening in today. Please join us next week, same day and time. Also, I would love for you to check out my website, healthrivedream.com.
Well, how are you?
Doing fine, thank you. I feel like I've already worked a full day.